Well, howdy do. It's good to see everyone. It's time for another coffee break. And today is a special day because today is story time, okay? I have had some interesting stories take place about a week ago that I wanted to share with everybody because they were unusual. And it's not something you see or hear about every day. But I wanted to share this incredible little story with you about things that I witnessed and saw happening here in the area where I live. And it starts out on, I guess it was a Thursday. I decided to go shopping at Whole Foods, just go get some food. They got some things I like there in the section where you can get pre-made foods, salads and what have you. Anyways, I was going to Whole Foods. That's my point. And while I was on my way, I was halfway there and I noticed as I was about to turn one corner, make a right-hand turn, I saw a stream of police cars lined up on the side of that road. And one vehicle that was out of place in comparison, that seemed to be right at the front end of it, but kind of blocked in by all these police cars. So apparently someone had gotten pulled over and stopped for some reason. But I started counting the police cars and I thought, how interesting is that? I saw 7 police cars pulled up and lined up along the side of that road around this one vehicle that was being stopped. And I thought to myself, well, that's odd. You almost have this thing going through your mind where you're saying, how many police cars does it take to screw in a light bulb? How many police cars does it take to stop one vehicle? Well, in this case, it started out 7, and as I pulled a little closer, I saw another police car driving around to make a U-turn to pull up with the rest of these others. So that would have made 8 police cars in total. And I thought, that is really strange. 8 police cars for one traffic stop. Has things changed so dramatically that we need 8 police vehicles pulling up and stopping one vehicle? Is it that dangerous? I kind of wondered about that. I mean, I don't know if that's just a new policy. I didn't know if that was just a way of police officers having each other's back and protecting one another, but it just seemed quite extreme to me. And I've seen 1 or 2 police cars back each other up. That's understandable. But 8 seemed pretty extreme to me. And, it just seemed out of place. So I took some photos of it and I posted it and texted it to a couple of friends because I thought it was just an interesting experience. Now that's only half the story I've got to share with you today because a couple of days later, I'm off and about trying to go to the Starbucks or the coffee shops that I can find open and get me a cup of coffee because it was one of those days where I needed a cup of coffee. And I pull in and I park in the parking lot of this one Starbucks. And I'm not promoting any of these places that I go to here as an advertisement, but these are places that I was on my way to when this happened. But as I pulled into this parking lot, I heard sirens behind me and a car pulled in right behind me and was being stopped by a police officer. And I turned and I looked, and the 2 police officers in that vehicle jumped out of the car with the doors open and pulled their guns and were pointing their guns at the vehicle, which had 2 men inside. Now, I don't know why they were being pulled over, but they were being pulled over at gunpoint. So that was a little strange to me. I thought, oh my gosh, there are guns going on here. I got to get out of this car. So I jumped out of my car, ran into the Starbucks for safety because I didn't know what was going to play out. I didn't know what was going on. I'd never seen, a big police event like that where they would pull their guns on a vehicle being pulled over. Again, this was one vehicle being pulled over by one cop car, police car, law enforcement car, whatever you want to call it. And they jumped out and pulled their guns on them. And they were screaming at them, get hands up, get out of the car, hands up, and they were going to have them one at a time, get out of the car and put their hands behind their head and walk backwards towards the police vehicle. And I witnessed all that, and I thought, I don't know what's playing out here. So I took out my phone and I started videotaping it. And everyone in the store was like coming over, the employees were, and they're like, oh, what's going on here? It's all crazy, you know, and they witnessed this with me. And we just, you know, these days, you just don't know what's going to play out, what's going to happen. So I went ahead and put it on my phone because I'm like, if something needs to be documented, I wanted to make sure that at least I was able to do that. Because this doesn't happen every day, right? You just don't run into this kind of situation, or at least I don't. So I watched this happen, and just like the other day story, another police vehicle came in, followed by another police vehicle. Yet another one comes in, and before I know it, I counted at least 7 police cars swarmed in. One of them had a police dog. The dog was out, being held by one of the police officers on a leash, and he was barking at the vehicle. You know, it was like something serious was taking place here. These guys were being taken down. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, all these police vehicles swarmed in. In the end, there were 8 vehicles yet again. I guess it's a new policy. If someone gets stopped, 8 other police vehicles are going to swarm in, and they're going to pull out their guns. All of them pull out the police dogs, and they're going to be pointing them at the car because you just don't know what's going on. I guess that's the way it is these days. So you want to be real careful when you're out there driving around. If you get stopped, don't take any chances, because there are going to be 8 other police vehicles show up to your event. Anyways, to make a long story short, what happened was that the driver definitely got out of the car and did the whole hands above the head thing, and he walked backwards to the vehicle. They put handcuffs on him and put him in the police vehicle. Then they repeated the process for the second man who was in the passenger seat. They had him get out, do the same thing, walk backwards, and then they put him in the car. So obviously they arrested these gentlemen, left the car there, had another unmarked car, police vehicle. There were 2 unmarked, by the way, and who would sit there and just monitor the vehicle, because the vehicle was going to have to be picked up somehow. They were going to arrange that. Couldn't just sit there. But sure enough, they stayed there, all 8 of these police vehicles, managing this operation to pull over one vehicle and take into custody 2 gentlemen for who knows what reason. I don't know. I had heard earlier in the week that they had pulled over some couple of brothers who had a trunk full of meth. And but that was earlier in the week prior to these 2 events that I'm telling you about. So I don't know if there's a big drug thing going on in the area or what, but they're just not taking any chances. So they did take these 2 guys into custody. They did eventually disperse, but this went on for quite some time. And I just videotaped a portion of it until I saw that things were going to be okay. So no guns were fired. No one was injured. No one was mistreated in this situation. There was no abuse, is what I'm trying to say. And it just eventually quietly dissipated, and they dispersed. But that took a long time. It must have been 20, 30 minutes in there before finally everyone was gone. But I didn't feel safe as an individual nearby. So I jumped out of my car, went into the coffee shop, pulled out my camera phone and just videotaped the important parts, and then just sat there until I felt safe enough to leave. And there you go. That's my story for the day. If you're out there driving around, just be driving safely, follow the rules of the road, don't have anything unusual in your car you shouldn't have in there, because I'm telling you, this has happened twice in 1 week from my observation. So that means it's happening more from the stories I'm hearing. So just be careful out there, because the police are on high alert, and they will cover their backs and have several vehicles or units swarm in when there is a traffic stop. or if they feel like you're being in violation of something or other. So that's my story for the day. What do you think about that? Well, I just wanted to share that with you because it was just such an unusual experience the first time, you know, and I just treated it like a little bit of a joke, a humorous situation, you know, like how many police cars does it take to screw in a light bulb? I didn't really know that it was an ongoing thing until the second incident when the guns came out and the police dogs, and, you know, it's a repeated situation. I know there have been lots of stories in my area. I don't know how it is where you are, but where I am, there's lots of fights breaking out and some shootings and evidently some drug hauling and things like that. So, whew, in broad daylight, you got to be careful too. But at nighttime, just sort of stay in a safe place is what I would recommend. But that's my story, so be careful lest you have 8 police officers swarm in on you all at once. And if that's the case, be very careful. That's all I'm saying. All right, guys, if you like this video, give me a big thumbs up. If you have any comments or any ideas or thoughts you want to share, put them in the comment boxes below. And if you'd like to subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll be able to continue this conversation from here on out. And don't forget to share, okay? Until next time, I'll be seeing you. Bye-bye now.